In this video, we're going to show you how to remove and replace a front shock mount bracket on a two-wheel drive Ford F-150. Remove the tire just to have better access. So I raised my vehicle and I put a pole jack under the suspension. We need to raise it up a little bit, take the pressure off the spring and the shock. And now I'm going to remove the bottom half of the front shock. I have an 18mm socket and an 18mm wrench. And now I'm going to remove the coil spring clamp bolt. It's a 14mm wrench for the back and a 15mm socket on the front. All right, so now I just got my bracket out of there. It's a little hot because I had to heat it with the induction tool to get that bolt out that was stripped. So now I'm going to lower the pole jack and separate that spring from the top of that shock tower bracket. Get all that pressure off. All right, so I just have to get a pry bar, pry down a little bit on this. I'm going to give it a little pull down and it will come right out of the top of that housing. There you go. So now I'm going to take the bracket mounting bolts. There is 6 of them total, 2 down here on the bottom. I have a 13 or a 1/2 inch socket and a 9/16 or 14 wrench. Take that one out. Head of the bolt is 13mm socket and the nut is a 15mm wrench. Your new bracket comes with all new hardware. Here's the last bolt. So I'm keeping the old shock, so I have to remove it. Okay, 9/16 or 14mm, and it's a double nut, so I'm gonna hold the one nut. Take that top nut off. So now I'm gonna put the new shock tower in without the shock. I can install that later. Just gonna rest it here. Just gonna rest it right there. I'm gonna get the bag of new hardware that comes with it. As careful as possible. I'm gonna raise this up. See if I can find the bolt holes. Not put it on the back side. Okay, she's going nowhere now. So all 6 bolts I'm just gonna put in by hand and snug it up. All right, with a 15mm wrench and a 13mm socket, I'm gonna tighten these bolts up. And I'm going to take my torque wrench and torque all 6 to 43 foot-pounds. Just going to spray this brake line because this tower has been changed before, as you can see. And they cut the bracket. And, hopefully we don't have to do that. We can just put the line in the way it should go. So now I'm going to separate this brake line, then I'll bleed the brakes after. But I want to do this right, and I want to get the brake line through that bracket. And now I'm going to take this line, bring it right through, and connect it. It's that simple. Pretty corroded. Clean away the brake fluid. Now I'm going to put the top of the shock back on. Put the bushing and the washer on. And I have the nut still inside the socket. Now I'm just going to double nut that top. And get the socket and tighten it up. So now I'm going to rotate my spring and make sure that the flat part of that top of the spring lines up with that bolt hole for the clamp. And I'm just going to pull down on the suspension and push that spring right into the seat. All right, now we have the spring seated in place, flat spots lined up with the hole. Put the bracket in first, get it lined up. If you can latch it back there, that's great. But now we're going to actually take the pole jack and raise it up and compress this spring so that will fold in place easily. I'm going to raise up the suspension. Just holding it in place and raising the vehicle. Okay, 15mm wrench, 13mm socket. I'm going to snug this up. The torque spec is 13 to 18 foot-pounds. Now we can put our lower shock bolt in. loosen up on that. Let the back bolt line up. Put the nut on. $18mm socket and an 18mm wrench. Let's tighten up this shock mount. Now, torque spec is 44 to 59, and I'm at 59. Now we can lower the jack, and we're done. Snug up in a crisscross pattern. The wheel torque is 100 foot-pounds, and we're going to do it in a star pattern. When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.